apologize again in terms of our Spreaker not being up and being on, but you listening to the State of the City. And again, we're getting right into the meat of the show, right into the crux of the show, right into the bean pie of the show this afternoon. So welcome for those of you that are listening and tuning in on Spreaker now to the State of the City. But we're talking about the Baltimore elections or selections and rejections and defections that took place this past Tuesday, June the 24th. And again, as I said before, that if you attempted to move elections in other countries to the way that this election was moved, not a week back, not a month back or a month ahead, but this was almost 4 months in terms of June when the elections are normally held in September. So this was the gangsters' paradise or gangsters' election, Mr. Bobo Robo election, which took place this past Tuesday. But as I said, we have to go back and look at history in Baltimore City and looking back in 1971 when other mayors in other cities, predominantly black cities, were getting their black mayors in Washington, D.C. and Gary, Indiana. In other cities here in Baltimore City, when it was our opportunity, when it was our turn to seize power, to seize black power in the city of Baltimore based on our numbers. Because up to that time, then all the mayors in the city had been white. All the city council members, for the most part, vice presidents on the city council or presidents on the city council were white. White men. I ain't even talking about white women. White men. So here was our opportunity in 1971, and the political mob bosses, Jack Pollock, Irv Colvin, and others, those 55 members or 83 members that helped to set up and found the Greater Baltimore Committee in 1955, decided to go and get Willie Don Schaefer, who was just a, let me just put it out, who was just a gay lawyer that was on the city council. Let me put that out there first and foremost. And if you don't believe me, one day I'll show you all the pictures with that Masonic Scottish Rite skirt on. With that Masonic Scottish Rite. He looked more comfortable in the skirt than he did a shirt. But let me keep going here. So they put Willie Don Schaefer in the mayor's race, knowing that we had the likes of a man such as the great Walter P. Carter, who, when I talk about KWAME TOURE, who was Stokely Carmichael then, they went to school at Howard University then. So when I talk about that, I'll talk about that relationship, KWAME TOURE, Stokely Carmichael with the great Walter P. Carter, who was an organizer, not just a mobilizer, but an organizer, which made him a threat to the establishment in the city of Baltimore. The white power structure and bourgeoisie power structure. Bourgeoisie power structure. Because he was a man who had came out of the military, so he knew military maneuvers. He knew how to organize, plan, strategize. This is why they try to write men like that out of history, because they don't want you to know who they are, because you may pick up on their work and want to duplicate that work. But nevertheless, Mr. Walter P. Carter, of course, is giving a speech at Union Baptist down on Drew Hill Avenue and Dolphin Street at the Black United Front meeting. He, of course, is given some water. Some don't know what perhaps might have been in the water. And he, of course, loses consciousness and he dies. So he's not able to even enter that race in 1971. So who enters the race? You had, again, Clarence Mitchell III, and then you had, of course, George Russell. Clarence Mitchell III, backed by some political mob bosses. George Russell, backed by the likes of Mr. Willie Adams. So what does that do? It splits the black vote. Who walks in and becomes the mayor? Who walks in and becomes the mayor? None other than Willie Don Schaefer and all the swindlers that was behind Willie Don Schaefer that looted this city. For every municipal position, looted this city for every, I would say, natural resources, from air to communication to the airport that was out there called Friendship, that were money makers. These money rakers came in and almost privatized everything then and set up these shadow government organizations under Willie Don Schaefer, so that when he stepped out of the mayor's office, anyone that was coming behind him, because they knew they couldn't hold us back for so long without us having a black mayor. So when a black mayor steps in later on, you had Kurt Schmoke running, representing West Baltimore, Kurt Schmoke being the Boule, Kurt Schmoke being the Rhodes Scholar, Kurt Schmoke being the Lancer, was already groomed at City College by the likes of Judge Hammerman, who was running the whole courthouse. I'll come back and talk about that in a minute. The Lancers Club. So now here comes Kurt Schmoke. Kurt Schmoke's job, of course, is to seize that power And you had, at that time, Clarence Dewburns that was running. Dewburns, who was vice president of the city council or president of the city council, which was supposed to be a natural ascension into the mayor's office. But the powers that be who had raised Kurt Schmoke, the white power structure in the city of Baltimore raised Kurt Schmoke, raised Stu Sims, raised Larry Gibson, raised a lot of these Boule members over at City College and Poly Senior High School as well. So their job was to be buffers between the black masses, the black classes, and of course the white power structure in the city of Baltimore. So Kurt Schmoke now becomes the mayor, but all of the money, all of the contracts, for the most part, went to members of the Jewish community and other whites in the city of Baltimore. So we saw the loss of more power under Kurt Schmoke. Now here comes 1999. Here comes 1999. I'm not talking about Prince in 1999. Here comes 1999. You have another member who's on the city council who at that time was the president of the city council. Here's his opportunity now to ascend into the mayor's office. And the same way these same political mob bosses bought us Willie Don Schaefer, same way they bought us Kurt Schmoke, they went and got none other than, you guessed it, Martin O'Malley. Martin O'Malley, the ghetto superstar, is the way he was portrayed. A man from Fort Wayne, Indiana, moved to Montgomery County, and then ultimately moved to Baltimore, tried to run for state senator against John Pica, and he lost. So then somebody said, well, Martin, if you want to be somebody in Baltimore, you're going to have to marry into the Karen family. So he married Katie Karen, the daughter of one of the political mob bosses historically in the book Jewish Baltimore, William Karen. And then, of course, he married William Karen Jr., daughter, Katie Karen. So therein, we saw more eroding of black political power in the city of Baltimore. And Martin O'Malley went on to become the mayor. Lawrence Bell, of course, is no longer in political office. And I could go deep and share so much more to that story. But I had to kind of give you that historical analysis because they say when all is lost, you got to go back to the point of where you became lost. Because all of this, of course, has become about Martin O'Malley. And Martin O'Malley, Mike Miller, and Mike Bush, this three-headed monster, like that, I think it's called Cerberus, the three-headed monster, or the Wizard of Oz, in his cast of sycophants, down there in, again, Annapolis, and in Maryland, it was supposed to be the Free State, and they've turned Maryland into the Fee State. They've turned Maryland into the Fee State, into the Flea State, and, of course, into perhaps the Free State in terms of freezing your accounts and freezing your pensions and forcing others to flee out of the state of Maryland who would otherwise would want to stay in the state of Maryland. But this past Tuesday election had a less than 25% turnout. So again, you would have the Sun paper say that the GOP and the Republicans are divided, but they would not dare ask that question and answer that question and say that regarding, again, the Democrats being divided. And how do you know you're divided? You've seen the lessening and the dwindling of black political power under Martin O'Malley, under this illegitimate, bastardized governor who gave us two special sessions. So now we're looking at a special election that took place, just when you thought that you've seen it all from this Teflon leprechaun. Just when you thought it was safe to go back outside. Just when you thought if you was a Democrat in terms of one that's really serving your constituents that it was safe to just focus on campaigning. He came with one, the redistricting, which reduced black political power and strength in Baltimore City, almost putting a nail in many who are in the House of Delegates and even some of your senators, such as Kiefer Mitchell, who came out of the Mitchell family, one of the civil rights family in the city of Baltimore. They call them the Black Kennedys. And to the point you don't have a Mitchell in the office now. He has sealed all of the gains that black people made in the past 50 years, and this election was almost a cherry on the top. This election or selection or defection and rejection this past Tuesday was the cherry on the top. So I got to tell it that way, man. Some of your so-called black media, most of them are just political. You know, as your pastor Jamal Bryant, the pimp, said, these hoes ain't loyal. They just some political hoes, man. Just got to tell you that, brother. Many of them are taking money. Most of them are apolitical, although they try to put them on radio and put them on square off and make you think they're very political. They apolitical, amoral, and a bunch of a-holes that need to find a hole to crawl in. But if we had real men, you wouldn't have the likes of a Hassan. You wouldn't have the likes of a Catalina Bird and others. They could put on radio Anthony McCarthy, a Larry Young, and tell you that these people speak for the black community. They hardly speak to the black community. Some crackheads that they went and cleaned up. No disrespect to those who have ever fought the disease of addiction. Some crackheads that they cleaned up and leaned up and put them on television, put them on radio, and tell you and me that these fools speak for us. They don't speak for me. Let me make that clear. They don't speak for me. But these are the ones that the Republicans and the Democrats have been buying off, selling off, putting money in their pockets, and then putting them forward. They're not black leaders. They're blacks that they're being put in the lead. And so they brought them on other radio stations now to see them come over here when I'm the one that opened the door for others. So it becomes a disrespect to me to even hear that crap on these airwaves. And I have to say something about it if others aren't willing to say anything about it. Some of them same ones was in I Can't, We Can't. They're going to go clean them up, at least outwardly make you think they clean. Outwardly make you think they clean. When they slipping and sliding with Kwesi Mfume, speaking of another one that helped to change and dwindle down black power in the city of Baltimore. Another one, and quite easy, you don't fool me. So they learn from him. That's why they run with him. That's why they come with him. So this election, as I said before, was about Martin O'Malley. Just when you thought you've seen it all, man. After he redistricted and constricted it, most of the legislative districts where black people are in Baltimore City and Baltimore County. He didn't do it to the Jews. He didn't do it to the Greeks. He didn't do it to the Italians. He didn't do it to the Hispanics. He didn't do it to the Arabs. He did it to where black people, the most loyal constituency of the Democratic Party, live and give. That's who he did it to. So you had Melvin Stoops. You had Kiefer Mitchell and Keith Haynes, 3 delegates running for 1 seat. Has that happened in any other district in the state of Maryland? You call in when I open up the lines and tell me it happened in one of the other districts. So this was Martin O'Malley. This was Mike Miller. This was Mike Bush in terms of what they did to the people, man. And you would have some of these black politicians running around thinking that they impotent. No, this election showed you that they're not impotent. These Negroes are impotent right now. They impotent right now. They've been castrated. They've been neutered. They've been spayed is what this is saying in terms of black elected power in the state of Maryland and particularly in the city of Baltimore. And of course, we can't forget it was just a few years ago, as I digress. It was Ulysses Carey that was getting ready to be removed like your ex-Senator Larry Young. It was a few years ago that Anthony Brown wanted to run for Attorney General, that you had another opportunist that jumped in Gansler working with O'Malley to say, no, Brown's going to be our boy. Brown's going to be our boy. You remember the song by Curtis Mayfield? Shoe Shine Boy. Brown is going to be our boy, man. Or you remember the old commercial, Buster Brown. Here's Buster Brown. He lives in a shoe. The shoe he been living in and living under is Martin O'Malley. Here's Buster Brown that lives in a shoe, and his dog, was it Ken or Tidgy? He lives in it too, man. So you got Buster Brown being led around by Martin O'Malley. And I'll be talking about that. If I don't get into that today, I will get into that. But this, again, man, was the cherry on the top, as I said before, of Martin O'Malley in terms of what he did this past Tuesday in the election. And, as I said before, the dwindling of black power, black economic power, black political power, even more in the city of Baltimore. Somebody got to love you enough to tell you that. Somebody got to love you enough to tell you that and to show you that. In the city of Baltimore. And then, of course, this state's attorney's race. Let me just get that out the way, man. Because that was Martin O'Malley. The mere fact that Marilyn Mosby's account treasure was Martin O'Malley's treasure should let you know. That should have been a hint to you. Should have been a hint to you that perhaps Martin O'Malley was making them do the Oochie Coo, as the Ohio players would say. Making them do the Oochie Coo, man. Making them do the Oochie Coo. So now, they're going to tell you with a 21% voter turnout, while, you know, some of your political leadership trying to get turned up with the young folk. They acting more young than the young folk. They trying to get turned up in the club while they gas is getting turned out. They getting turned out in office, but they want to be turned up in the club. There's some of you young people, you want to be stunting when you're really fronting. Some of them ones they run around telling you is the political gurus, that they're the political analysts and can tell you what's going on. But they don't tell you they're taking a pocket full of money, a trunk full of money from Mike Miller, from Mike Bush, from Martin O'Malley, from Doug Gansler, and they're going to come back to you and tell you and I that they're really going down there speaking for us. As I said before, they don't even speak to us, and I don't look for them to speak to me. See, if they start speaking to me, then I know they don't fear me. Most of the time, I don't even want them to come near me when I see them in Terror Cafe or any place else, because I see them as they really are. I see them as they really are. And because you have a vacuum of real strong black media, they can take these fools and say they represent black media. The hell they do. The hell they represent a black medium in order to get to you and to dumb you down is what they're doing. But again, let me come to this state's attorney's race, man. Let me come to the state's attorney's race. I know some of you sisters, you say it's nice that we see a black woman down that's been elected now in the Democratic Party in Baltimore City as the state's attorney. But we'll say that all of this was part of a plan. All of this was no more than trading places and trading spaces. You know the old movie with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. Instead of using a black man this time, they just used a black woman. I understand, we'll say alleged for the station say that deal and that die had already been cut when they worked to get rid of Patricia Jessamy out of office. And Bernstein said he only wanted to be the state's attorney for one term. So usually in a low voter turnout election, it favors the incumbent. Doesn't favor a neophyte. Doesn't favor a neophyte, the youngest state's attorney in the history of Baltimore City. And y'all don't see this? In the words of LL Cool J, something like a phenomenon. But this deal was already set. And the mere fact that her attorney or her treasurer was Martin O'Malley's treasurer, Martin Cadigan, who comes out of the law firm of Brown and Sheehan, that corrupt law firm. And the wife, I think, of one of them is former Anne Arundel County exec Janet Owens. But nevertheless, you had the boogeyman, Martin O'Malley, behind the scenes controlling. And obviously, he had to make some promises to Bernstein and some promises to others because he needed to position himself nationally to say, I got black people in positions of power. These are my niggers. Let me show it to you. I got me a black woman as the mayor. I got me a black woman as the state's attorney. I got me a black woman as the city controller. I got me a black now that's the elected Democratic representative for governor in the state of Maryland. Now, it don't mean that Brown is going to send to the governor's seat. And it doesn't mean if he gets to the governor's seat that he's going to be there long. I will remind him of what happened to Jack Johnson. I will remind him in Prince George's County. I will remind him of what happened to Sheila Dixon. She got there. She ascended. But as my brother, Dr. Tyrone Powers, would always say, you should sign your signature, NFL, not for long, behind your name, or they co-op you, and when they finish, they cold drop you. They cold drop you. So Martin O'Malley, who wants to run on a national ticket, has to project this image that he is progressive when nothing could be further from the truth. A man that locked up 100,000 black men and women and children per year. See, when you get the white media and some of this black media that get their money from Martin O'Malley, they'll say, well, he only locked up 100,000 one time. No, that was 100,000 average per year over 6.5 year period, damn it. So we're talking about 800,000 people that was arrested, charged, many of them wrongfully, illegally, unconstitutional arrest. So you want to talk about stop and frisk in another city, in another state, but you don't want to talk about stop and frisk right here, and some stop to cease to exist after they were finished with them. Such as Mr. Raymond Smoot in Central Booking, the overcrowdedness in Central Booking, the illegal taking of your DNA when you got the Central Booking. Some of you brothers act like you're going to kill concrete in the street, but when your ass got up in Central Booking, they treated you like a concrete Pete or somebody else's girl that was sweet to make you give up that DNA. Now tell me I'm lying. See, when you ain't got a strong black media, they gonna act like you got amnesia and don't tell the truth about Martin O'Malley and what Martin O'Malley as the mayor did and continued to do as the governor. The mere fact you got a Mark Steiner on black radio today where you don't hear a word spoken about the great KWAME TOURE MORE who could be heard on WEAA You could hear a great KWAME TOURE. You could hear a great Walter P. Carter. You ain't going to hear that now except for maybe a hallmark moment under the likes of a Steiner and a McCarthy and some of these other people, the Birds and Hassan and these other people that they want you to listen to, and you think everybody on the radio really gives a damn about you. No, it's just to use you as an ends to a mean and a means to their ends to make some ends. You know what I mean? Know what I mean? To make some ends off of you. But again, the state's attorney's race was clearly something that was already decided. And when you look at who's behind the scene with her, they went and got Kurt Smoke. Now, here's Kurt Smoke. I got to tell it. Here's Kurt Smoke, Stu Sims, Larry Gibson, that got ran out of the city because they were working with the likes of your former ex-disgraced, kicked out, tricked out, dicked out Senator Larry Young, who wanted to get Paris Glendening elected, so much so they said, if we get Glendening elected, can you make Ed Woods the commissioner? Because that way, if something happens among the brothers in the streets and then ones in the suites and our crimes, that Woods will help to cover up our crimes. And Woods helped to cover up many of their crimes, man. Files went missing, bodies went missing, men went missing, women went missing, children went missing. But I know you don't want to have this conversation with me today. But Woods helped to cover up many of them crimes as the police chief. Why do you think they keep Anderson down there? Why do you think they really keep Sheriff Anderson down there? Sure, I got to tell it today. Why do you think they keep John Anderson down there? He's a cover man. He's a cover there, man. CYA, cover your assets. That's his job for the mob. Got a black mob. Got a white mob, got a broke back mob, you got a gay mob. So I got to tell it, man. Got a gay mob, got a down low and a low down mob. Got a lesbian mob, I'm sorry. Got a sisterhood of the traveling pants, yeah, sisterhood mob. So I got to tell it, but this is what? Mob town. Baltimore historically has been known as mob town. Not your young people out there riding on their bikes, popping at 12 o'clock. 10, 20 deep, not them, not the ones that go in 7-Eleven and might take some chips and some dip and then tip on out the store. No, they not no mobs, man. They just a loose group. The real mobs are in City Hall. They in Annapolis. They in the courthouses. They the real mobs up in the suites, man. Not down in the streets. But then, coming back to the state's attorneys, as I said before, clearly now, this is nothing but trading places and the behind-the-scene players. So you got to peek the whole scene, as Tupac said, and whatever's going on around me. Your brain can't be kind of cloudy, smoked out, and feeling rowdy. But you got to see who they really are. And you see Kurt Smoke, Boulay member. Larry Gibson, Boulay member. The ones that got run out of town, and now the clear signal has been given by Martin O'Malley that I need these Negroes, man. I need these Negroes, so tell Larry Gibson all he got to do is tell Kurt Smoke to kiss my ring and he can come on back. These are the same ones that was behind the scene running Patricia Jessamy's campaign. So if Jessamy, who had been a 2-term state's attorney, and or 3-term state's attorney, and she was not reelected, how is it a neophyte like Marilyn Mosby can get in, man? See, but you ain't asking them questions. You're not asking them questions. But it's alleged, if you go down there, they have a commission. They have a commission that's been set up to train Marilyn Mosby because she's a neophyte. She don't know anything about being a state's attorney. She was just some pretty eye candy that was an attorney, man. Just some pretty eye candy brothers, as you brothers say. That's all. Pretty smile, pretty cheeks. That's it. And, of course, we'll have to ask, as I said before, is Nick Mosby now one of the newest, youngest Boulay members? We'll have to ask that question, man. But it's alleged now that the one who's training is the Boulay connections now. Her husband, Miss Jessamy's husband, Howard Jessamy Boulay. If he's listening, he can call. So that makes Miss Jessamy an arch-on. So now the one that's training Marilyn Mosby is Miss Patricia Jessamy, along with some others, but she's the head trainer of having to take somebody and give her state's attorney 101 classes. And y'all don't see through this, man? Y'all, but you ain't gonna get the ones to be on radio gonna tell you this. You're not gonna get them ones white media ain't gonna tell you that, man. But again, because Martin O'Malley want to say, see what I've done for all these black people? While he's turning back your rights slowly but surely, no, fastly in the city and in the state of Maryland. But he got to project that image on a national level. because he wants to keep up with Mario Cuomo, wants to keep up with Hillary Clinton. He wants to keep up with Rubio down there in Florida, or keep up with others. Wants to keep up with Cory Booker, wants to keep up with the governor up there in Massachusetts, Patrick Duvall. So he got to try to project the image as being pro-civil rights when he's been the greatest arch deceiver of our civil rights and human rights in the city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland. So I'm sorry, got to just, just say, tell the truth, shame the devil, Brother Muhammad. And if Kirk Smoke listening, he can call. But don't forget, I still got them files about Georgia Gosley. See, C. Miles knew a little of this, but I told you I had a little more files than Brother C. Miles. Had a bigger smile than Brother C. Miles. See, Miles was telling you about the kind of shenanigans that was going on in the city of Baltimore. So he frightened the white establishment. He frightened Mr. Bobo, and he frightened Mr. Bobo Robos that he controlled in terms of these Robo Negroes. See, Miles told you about the kind of things that was going on. While you were sleeping, they was creeping. He told you about that and what these individuals were doing. But I still got them files about Georgia Gosley. So if you come for me, I have no problem exposing and going deeper into that file about Georgia Gosley and Stu Sims and what was going on with Georgia Gosley and how the Hammerman, who was running that courthouse, told an attorney by the name of Glavin, we'll say alleged, if he prosecuted a certain brother, that when Kirk Smoke ascended to become mayor. See, listen, they knew all of this beforehand. That they were going to make Kirk Smoke the mayor from the state's attorney's office. And then they was going to make Stu Sims the state's attorney. But they told Glavin he was going to become the state's attorney. And he prosecuted that brother. That brother was given time in prison. But Glavin never ascended to the state's attorney's office. It was Stu Sims, and Glavin went back to private practice. But he was so angry and so hurt, he held on to the files. To the point when he saw the brother, he gave the brother the files. The brother shared them with me because they know I don't have no cut card. I ain't got no problem telling it. And I'm just touching the surface right now. I'm scratching the surface right now. But all this is game in that state's attorney's race, as I said before. And if Nick Mosby listening, he can call. Marilyn Mosby listening, she can call. Bernstein listening, he can call. But the mere fact you had a state's attorney's race and they never mentioned the name of Officer William Torbett and how officers could be shot and killed worse than what these officers did to a damn dog named Nyla? Worse than what they did to a damn, what was that dog? Whatever the kind of dog it was. Don't make no difference to me. You kill a police officer like that and nobody got charged? From the thugs in the street that was beating him down to the thugs in blue uniform that shot him down and ultimately put him down. But that wasn't even brought up in the race. And you heard none of these fools that's been taking money from Bernstein. Let me make that clear. They was writing them articles about Mosby because they was taking that dough from Bernstein. Taking a dough from Bernstein. And they can't deny what I know, that they was taking that money. And I'll come back over the next couple of days and go deep into this. But this was, again, the robo election. And as I said before, it demonstrated the impotence of black political leadership in the city of Baltimore and now in the state of Maryland. Now in the state of Maryland. So history will record what went down and what didn't go down. And you have those that got clear eyes that don't mind telling you what they really saw that went down this past Tuesday on the front line and behind the lines. But again, them skeletons coming out, man. Some of them don't have skeletons. They might have some full bodies. Some of them don't have no bodies. They got some trunks. And some of them don't have trunks. They perhaps got some van lines, man. They got some van lines. But it's going to take those that love you enough to say, man, this is not what you think took place this past Tuesday. But they'll try to run that old jive crap down on you and tell you ain't go out and vote. But the people in Montgomery County didn't come out and vote. The richest county in the state of Maryland. People in PG County didn't come out and vote. They're going to try to tell you didn't come out and vote. Your young people from 18 to 40 didn't come out and vote. They was too busy trying to get in the line, get the latest Jordans. Too busy in the line trying to get inside the club that night. Too busy in the line trying to meet Manny Machado for some of them women out there, giants in Pikesville. But they're going to tell you didn't come out and vote. They were too busy trying to get turned up while your political leadership like Kiefer Mitchell, political leadership like Kiefer Mitchell, Melvin Stooks, and others, Verner Jones, Cardwell was getting turned out. But some of them had already been turned out. So you tune to the state of the city. Hey, that ain't even my entire show for the day, man. But I just needed to share that with you regarding, again, Mr. Bobo's robo-election. So don't let anybody tell you about Julius Henson. And, of course, them ugly campaign signs he had, I thought it was a Washington Redskin. I thought he was promoting the Washington Redskins with that silhouette on there, with that ugly campaign sign. No pun intended, but it was an ugly campaign sign, brother. Just got to put it out there. I thought he's promoting the Washington Redskins logo. But I'll tell you, Julius Henson was suppressing the black vote. When Martin O'Malley is locked up 100,000 people a year, tell me how that doesn't suppress the black vote. Hassan, Doc Cheatham, tell me how that doesn't suppress the black vote. See? But you want to talk about somebody made supposedly a call that went out to 100,000 people. How about a man that arrested 100,000 people a year? Tell me that didn't suppress the black vote. So much so, Negroes even scared to go past a voting booth, much less go inside of one. Because they don't know if they got the right to vote. Because the NAACP ain't going to tell them. Urban League not going to tell them. National Action Network's not going to tell them. Many of these non-profits that make money off their misery being ex-offenders are not going to tell them. And God knows most of your preachers ain't going to tell them. But these hoes ain't loyal. They're not going to tell them. But again, you tune to the state of the city, man. And I said before, it's a bunch of hypocrisy. Let me go to this other clip, man, talking about this police officer that was arrested. Then I'm going to come back, open up the lines. Those of you that want to talk on that, before I get into KWAME TOURE, and if time permits, I'll get back into our brother Michael Jackson. But let me go to this clip. Second police officer arrested in charge. Second Baltimore City police officer arrested in charge for his role in holding down a dog that weighed 36 pounds. And while a fellow officer, the prime slime suspect, and no, they'll try to throw this case just like Bernstein threw the case of them 3 officers that kidnapped a young black boy and rode him all the way out to Howard County, took his bike, took his tennis shoes, took his watch and everything else. Michael Johnson was his name. Them 3 officers, Bernstein was dealing from the same deck as the attorney that's supposed to be fighting to sentence the officer, but they always, they all have it. I got to say, it's just a game when you go in the courtroom. That's just game. So no doubt if these officers are really charged, that it'll just be game. They'll say, well, he didn't mean it. He was pulling out his knife to cut the rope from around the dog's neck, and he accidentally killed the dog. But the mere fact you see them talking more about a dog than young black men that's been killed in this city, young men such as Michael Mayfield to find his murderers and others that have been killed in this city, lets you see that their priorities have gone to the dogs. You know what I mean, dog? Their priorities in this city has gone to the dogs. You know what I mean, dog? 2-legged dogs and the 4-legged dogs. But let me see if we can go to this clip talking about second officer now that's been charged. And these are not rookie officers, man. These are veteran officers. These are officers been on the force for over 20 years. So if that mindset is in the 20-year officers down there, imagine the mindset that they're teaching to the young ones that's underneath them. And 8 to 10 officers were at the scene, and they videotaped it. Don't let anybody lie and tell you that they didn't. They videotaped this, as they do when they pull you out of your cars, brothers and sisters. Just as they videotaped Tyrone West and what happened to Tyrone West, they videotaped what happened to this dog. But let me go to this clip. Then we'll come back in and open up the lines in the 1 o'clock hour before I get into my great elder, the great KWAME TOURE, Stokely Carmichael, ready for the revolution. So let me get this infomercial out of the way. Then we can go to this clip. Second officer now charged with the slitting of the throat of a dog. So let me see if we can get this clip up and you can hear it in its entirety for yourselves. And then some other stories I want to get into. We'll see. Listen to this.
Officers face jail time for killing a Shar-Pei named Nala. WJZ investigator Mike Helgren is live in Southeast Baltimore at the scene where the dog's throat was cut. Mike?
Denise, it happened right in this lot, just a few blocks away from the Natty Boat Tower. It is rare for a police officer to be charged with animal cruelty, let alone 2 of them in this case, and police have condemned the actions. Now, 2 Baltimore City officers, Jeffrey Bolger and Thomas Schmidt, face time behind bars and thousands of dollars in fines for their roles in the brutal death of a 7-year-old Shar-Pei named Nala. Do you think either of these officers should do jail time for this?
Yes. I think they both should.
Nala's owner says her dog got loose on June 14th. Several blocks from her home, police say the dog nipped a woman who was trying to rescue her. Officers were called and end up cornering Nala on South Grundy Street.
She didn't attack anyone that day. She was just lost and scared.
This is the vacant lot where Nala was killed. According to charging documents, Officer Schmidt was trying to restrain her with a special pole. That didn't work, so he held her on the ground, and then those documents say that Officer Bolger slit her throat.
She must have been terrified. You know, there's two big men holding her down, and then it makes me feel ill to think about her last final moments here.
Police say they have no evidence the dog showed any aggression and brought the charges against Bolger days after the incident. The charges against Schmidt are new and come from the state's attorney's office.
This incident, as we know it right now, is an egregious incident that we will not condone or tolerate.
Officers Schmidt and Bolger each have more than 20 years of experience. They are free awaiting trial.
These two guys, if you see them, they look like bigger men, and she was 38 pounds. So it just seems like a bully move to me.
It's important to point out these are just charges at this point, and these men are considered innocent until proven guilty. Police tell us they have invested in new equipment and training for officers on how to treat animals humanely. Denise?
Welcome back, welcome back. You heard that for yourself, but you hear the news media, which is alleged, the mayor, police commissioner has been calling the news media around the city, say be easy in how you treat the story, because it's the image of the city that we're projecting. It's the image of the Baltimore City Police Department that we're projecting around the nation. So as you can hear the reporter even do his own disclaimer to his own story. But yet, when it was two young black men that they said had tortured and burned and abused a dog named Phoenix, they went all around the world with that story. You ain't hear the mayor. To this day, you haven't heard the mayor say a word about what happened to this dog 2 weeks ago. You haven't heard the police commissioner, even though he's going around, according to the Day's Sun paper, trying to be a hands-on police commissioner, debriefing the young people that are working with youth work summer jobs. But he's been silent about these two police officers. Tell me he hasn't been bullied. Tell me he hasn't been bullied. Tell me your mayor hasn't been bullied. And your state's attorney, well, that broke back. We already know. He is what he is, man. He is what. I don't know if he wear the same heels that his wife wear, man. We gonna have to find out. We gonna have to look into that, man. She didn't take his name. She Goldstein, he Bernstein. But they still Steens. You know what I mean? And I'll come back and talk about how she left the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council of the Mayor's Office and now works at the the Janet and Harry Weinberg Foundation, because they still decide where the money goes around this city, man. I don't know why they don't just refer to City Hall as the Harriet and Janet Weinberg building down there. But of course, Paterakis would be angry if you put their name on his building down there in City Hall. But again, you tune to the State of the City, man. Let me close out in the first hour. Then we're going to come back in and get into the second hour when I open up the lines at 410-761-1592. We'll come back in the first hour, talk about our great revolutionary. Again, the great Kwame Toure. But remember, y'all, as the old saying goes from my brother Gil Scott Heron, and of course, Black Code, the revolution will not be televised. We'll be back with more of the State of the City.
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to log in, load up, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself in swag while sitting on your sofa sipping Ace of Spades, watching messages from the local sponsors, because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Scheinberg administration during an uncut broadcast of Schindler's List. It won't consist of Instagram pics posted by Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, and Ben Jealous eating dinner together at the Juice Bar on 125th Street, showing off their current situation. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by New Nigga Cinema, and it will not star Nene or Flavor Flav, Cicely Tyson, or Tyler Perry. The revolution will not give you street cred. The revolution will not correct erectile dysfunction. The revolution will not make you an American Idol, because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Muhammad popping champagne at your going away to prison party, cause you got caught by every camera in the neighborhood kicking that dog and robbing that old lady. CNN will not choose the dumbest eyewitness in the crowd to give a concise description of just what happened. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of brothers shooting down pigs on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of brothers shooting down pigs on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of Gwyneth Paltrow being run out of Harlem on a Vespa with a brand new weave. There will be no slow motion or ass shots of Bumpy the Body gyrating on a rented Rolls Royce with a wet black power t-shirt that she had been saving for just the proper occasion. Real Housewives, Olivia and Fritz, and the Kardashians will no longer be so damn relevant, and women will not care if niggas are making it rain in puddles of sorrow, because black people will be in the streets looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no YouTube clips of parrots singing the national anthem or Sweet Brown screaming she ain't got time for that. The theme song will not be written by Kanye West or DJ Khaled, nor will it be sung by 2 Chainz, Nicki Minaj, Taylor Swift, or Trinidad James. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be right back after a message about a flash flood, flash fire, or flash mob. You will not have to worry about the gecko in your glove compartment, the tapeworm in your gas tank, or the Trojan man in your back pocket. The revolution will not go better with coke. The revolution will not spray on a darker complexion. The revolution will give you wings. The revolution will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised. The revolution won't be on demand, brother. The revolution will be live.
That needs to be said in this country. And that's what I want to talk about. Now, I want to talk to black people across this country. I want to talk to black people across this country. There are 4 things we have to do. Number 1, we have to stop being ashamed of being black. We've got to start being ashamed of being black. Number 2, we have to move into a position where we can define terms for what we want them to be, not what racist white society wants it to be. We have to move to define. We have to move to a position where we can feel strength and unity amongst each other from Watts to Harlem, where we won't ever be afraid. And the last thing we have to do is to build a power base so strong in this country that will bring them to their knees every time they mess with us.
That is the major enemy. And whenever anybody prepares for revolutionary warfare, you concentrate on the major enemy. We're not strong enough to fight each other and also fight him. We will not fight each other today. We will not fight each other. There will be no fights in the black community among black people. There will just be people who will be off. There will be no fights. There will be no disruptions. We are going to be united. We must begin to develop, number 1, and this is the most important thing we can do as a people. We must first develop an undying love for our people. Our people. Our people. Our people. We must develop an undying love as is personified in Brother Huey P. Newton. Undying love for our people. Undying love. If we do not do that, we will be wiped out. We must develop an undying love for our people. Our slogan will become, first, our people, then, and only then, me and you as individuals. Our people first. Our people first. Huey Newton is the only living revolutionary in this country today. He has paid his dues. He paid his dues. How many white folks you killed today?
But you revolutionaries, you are revolutionaries. Che Guevara says it's only two ways to leave the battlefield, victorious or dead. Huey is in jail. Johnson can always sit up and talk about, he can always raise an argument about
Welcome back. Had some technical difficulties with that. We'll get it right back up. That was our brother, again, the great KWAME TOURE, and brother H-Rap Brown that you were listening to. This is from 1967. See if we can grab that, and we'll give you the rest of it in its entirety. It's not much longer, but I definitely wanted to take this time in the second hour of the State of the City to pay homage and to pay tribute to the great Stokely Carmichael, again, who grew to become KWAME TOURE, of course, a member of SNCC, member of the Black Power movement, and a member of and founding member of the All African People Revolutionary Party, and a student of Howard University. As I said before, had some local roots here in the city as I talked to two beautiful human beings, Sister Nona and her beautiful husband, Brother Virgil, who used to be his barbers, or not barbers, as they say, in terms of, again, the maintenance of his hair. There at Salon Michelle, I believe, that's there. On Park Heights, and so that brother has great roots, and of course the work he did with the great Walter P. Carter and brothers and sisters on the campus of Howard University, which was the black mecca of, black power, black organizing in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, to the point of, again, Mimney, of the Boule working to shut down the organizing of blacks on the campus of Howard University, and even banning certain groups and organizations such as the Nation of Islam and others on that campus of Howard University. So this day, tomorrow, June the 29th, would have been his Earth Day and birthday. And he, of course, was not the first to use the term Black Power, but he seized the time and seized that opportunity in June of 1966 and used the term Black Power. So we're going to play maybe one or two more clips, then we're going to come back in, open up the lines, take your thoughts, questions, comments. So listen to more of the great brother KWAME TOURE.
And so in talking about Brother Huey Newton tonight, we have to talk about the struggle of black people, not only in the United States, but in the world today, and how he becomes part and parcel of that struggle, how we move on so that our people will survive America. All right. Therefore, we are not talking about politics tonight. We're not talking about economics tonight. We are talking about the survival of a race of people. That is all that is at stake. We are talking about the survival of black people. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing. And he will consciously wipe us out. He will consciously wipe us out. Let us check World War II. He will not do it unto his own. Notice who he dropped an atomic bomb on. Some helpless yellow people in Hiroshima. Some helpless yellow people in Hiroshima. If you do not think he's capable of committing genocide against us, check out what he's doing to our brothers in Vietnam. Check out what he's doing in Vietnam. We have to understand that we're talking about our survival and nothing else. Whether or not this beautiful race of people is going to survive on the earth. That's what we're talking about. Nothing else. Nothing else. If you do not think he's capable of wiping us out, check out the white race. Wherever they have gone, they have ruled, conquered, murdered, and plagued. Whether they are the majority or the minority, they always rule. They always rule. Always rule. And check out the pattern in which they move. They came to this country. They didn't know a damn thing about this country. The red man showed them how to adapt to this country. He showed them how to grow corn. He showed them how to hunt. And when the Indians finished showing it, he wiped them out. He wiped them out. He wiped them out. He was not satisfied. He went to South America. The Aztec Indians said, this is our silver, this is our copper, these are our metals, these are our statues. We build them for the beauty of our people. After the Indians showed it to him, he took it and he wiped them out. He wiped them out. He's been able to make us hate each other. He has transplanted that hate and the love for each other for a love of his country. His country. We came to this country as black men and as Africans. It took us 400 years to become Negroes. Understand that. That means that the concept of a black man is one who recognizes his cultural, his historical, and the roots of his great ancestors who were the greatest warriors on the face of this earth. Africans. 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 Many of our people's minds have been whitewashed. If a Negro comes up to you and you turn your back on him, he's got to run to the hunky. We're going to take time and patience with our people because they're ours. They're ours. All of the Uncle Toms, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk. And when they slap, we're going to bow. And when they slap, we're going to bow. And we're going to try to bring them home. And if they don't come home, we're going to off them. That's all. That's all. The 3 M's, the missionaries, the money, and the Marines. That is precisely the way it's moved all over the world. It is the way it moves against us. They have sent the missionaries in. We sent them out. They have sent the money in with the poverty program. The Vietnamese and the Koreans are pulling the money out. The next thing comes the Marines. Comes the Marines. And if we're talking seriously, we get prepared for the Marines. Now, if some black people do not think that the white man is going to wipe us out completely, then it won't be no harm being prepared just in case he decides to do it. Just in case he decides to do it. So there'll be no harm in us preparing ourselves for the Marines. Now, there's a lot of tactics we can learn. The VC has shown us the best way to get it done. Best way to get it done. And don't be afraid to say it. Tell them, yeah, you want the Vietnamese to defeat them because they're wrong from the jump. They're wrong from the jump. They're wrong. They're wrong. Don't get up there and play games with them. You ever see them on TV? Well, actually, we were wrong going into Vietnam, but we can't get out unless we save face. Just to save that hunky's face, millions of Vietnamese got to die. That's a lot of junk. If you're wrong, say you're wrong and get out. Get out. Get out. Get out.
Welcome back. The immortal words of the great KWAME TOURE, Stokely Carmichael, who grew to become our black butterfly, one of our heroes. We stop on this segment of the State of the City to, of course, commemorate him, to educate on those that do not know our brother, to elevate his name, and, of course, just to say thank you. Of course, his book, Ready for Revolution, his wife, of course, the former Miriam Makeba, and, of course, children that he has, but he had local roots here in the city of Baltimore. So don't let them wipe him out of history, because if they wipe out one of the best of us, what does that will say or do for the rest of us? So we stop on this segment of the State of the City to say thank you to him and to thank you to many of our revolutionaries from Trinidad, Tobago, and from the African continent. So with that, we're going to open up the lines before I get into Iraq, get into the crisis actors and crisis. If you want to get in on the conversation, talk about the local elections I talked about, and just laid out basically, and I don't know what you can add to what we talked about with what Martin O'Malley has done, but historically, somebody got to be intelligent enough and have the testicular fortitude to say what needs to be said, then to do what needs to be done, to look back at the elections of Baltimore City in 1971, 1999, and of course, what just took place this past Tuesday in the city of Baltimore with the lowest voter turnout in Maryland. But again, you voting with your feet, voting with your hands, letting you know you dissatisfied in the city of Baltimore. But that was the Robo election. That was the Mr. Bobo's, in the words of C. Mile, Mr. Bobo's Robo election that took place. Let me come to the line, take your thoughts, questions, comments, 410-761-1592. Good afternoon, caller. You on the State of the City.
Afternoon, Darren.
Afternoon, Mama. Thoughts, comments on the subject matters.
I'll make this short as I can.
Okay.
A long time ago when that Trayvon Martin case first came out, I said, this is going to be an ongoing thing with that man's name. Yes. And I was correct. Today I heard that 22 high schools in Florida, the students went on strike.
Yes.
Did you hear about that before?
No, I didn't hear about it. But
yeah.
Is that because of the shooting of black boys in the state that's taking place? What they going on strike for? Stand your ground?
I don't know
that part. I have to
read
into it.
Are supposed to have struck or something like that.
Right.
And then...
Well, we had to go on strike in this city. We had to go on strike in this town after what we just saw with that gangster paradise, Mr. Bobo Robo election. What do you think about that, Mama?
I'm not surprised.
Yes.
I'm not surprised. I'm an independent, so... Yes. I couldn't vote.
Well,
you know what I mean?
That's because the gangsters don't want you to be able to cross over and vote in the primary election, as they do in some other states around the country, right?
Right.
So O'Malley is no better than Thad.
The two-party system that we have here, anyway.
Right. Well, this governor's no better than Thad Cochran. He's no better than Wallace. He's no better than them white racist Dixiecrats in the South. When we look at his policies, his practices, and procedures toward black people in the state of Maryland. Agree?
I agree.
Yes,
and I made another comment about this Trayvon case. You know, we were running away from our slave masters way back in the past.
Right.
Here now we're just walking down the street, and the slave masters are still after us.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
You know,
yes.
And we've got to get on the ball. But you have a good evening. Thank you.
Oh,
look, one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the address of where I can get hidden colors?
You can stop past the barbershop. I think they're 2440 Charles Street. It won't be available, or Everyone's Place bookstore won't be available until Friday. And I believe those establishments will be open on Friday. I don't know why a Negro will be celebrating the 4th. And I'll come back and play that message from Frederick Douglass. What to the 4th of July does it mean for the slave or the Negro, right?
And what about Thanksgiving?
Trying to be star-spangled, as my brother Fred Hampton Jr. would say, trying to be some star-spangled slaves in 2014. All right.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Mama. With that, we'll take more of your calls. 410-761-1592. Get in where you fit in. Fit in where you get in. If you want to comment on subject matters we talked about thus far, particularly around the election or the rejections that took place this Tuesday, or as I said before, the dwindling of black power in the city of Baltimore by these we call them necromongers, brothers. Is that what they were in the Chronicles of Riddick? The necromongers, man. Whatever you kill, you keep. You know what I mean? Or they killing Negroes. They killing black political Negro power in the city of Baltimore. And then they keep them or co-op them and co-drop them when they finish. Come here, Kurt Smoke. He ain't been able to come back to Baltimore in almost 20 years. He been over D.C. He used a D.C. address. I don't know why he and Patricia Jessamy wouldn't open up their own law firm and train black lawyers. But, of course, if we didn't get anything up underneath of them, please don't kill no more black minds, man. But a mind is a terrible thing to waste, as they say. With that, let me come back to the line. But Kirk Smoke now got the green light to come back home, had to kiss O'Malley's ring, and then they gave him the position over at the University of Baltimore, right? Exactly. Larry Gibson can come back home, had to write a book about Thurgood Marshall because, Negroes with bad credit got to get some co-signers. He need Thurgood Marshall legacy in order to raise his own standard. And, of course, Stu Sims can come out of private practice and come back home. But, again, they got run out because they promised gambling to the gangsters, we'll say Ledge. And then Glendenning turned his back on them. And they didn't bring gambling to Maryland, so they all got run out of town. And now, say get out of town before sundown. Now they've been given a pass to come on back because Martin O'Malley needs them Negroes to project it around to the country that he's a kindler, gentler, progressive governor. But as Dr. King said, his drips will be dripping with interposition and nullification because he's nullifying the Negroes around here. With that, let me come back to the lines, 410-761-1592. Good afternoon, caller. You on the State of the City.
Good afternoon.
How are you, my sister?
Many thanks as you, always, we know you're going to bring the knowledge about our elder.
Yes.
Today, members of the the All African Revolutionary Party are having a event in D.C. Matter of fact, they sent an invite to me.
Beautiful.
Let me know if you want to go. It'll be this evening.
Okay.
Because not only is it his birthday, but also Bob Brown.
Yeah, I saw that. Lena Horne the day after that, right?
Yes. Matter of fact, my Earth Day is next day too, so it's a lot of
Earth days.
Cancer sign.
Yes.
And also, I noticed something interesting after I left the theater for Hidden Colors.
Yeah, you enjoy yourself?
Of course, I enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
I was looking
I'm
forward
waiting
to
on
that.
I'm waiting on the Hidden Colors. I hope they don't be hiding when they call in. They can at least make a comment about what they saw, and what they heard, if they like. But I don't know. Maybe. Well, please continue, my sister. I'm gonna stop right there.
I noticed there was one youth that was looking, at the theater, and he was like, "Wow!" And I realized, I said, first I was thinking that he went in there, and then I realized he didn't. And I would say this: as we get in our copies of the DVD, share and have some viewings for those that don't have the money, to go to
I promise.
events.
Yeah, we're going to do some summer, instead of the summer white parties, we're going to do a righteous RBG party and have a DVD release perhaps in some of the communities around the city, and that's what we have to do. But please continue.
Yeah, and so that too, and then also what happened in Washington when they were showing it at the Avalon Theater. They said the posters of the for Hidden Colors had been removed when they came out.
Yes, ma'am.
And of course, we know strong showings are elsewhere,
all over the nation. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right.
And I wanted to let everybody know. I communicated and let you know that with the memorial page for Malcolm Shabazz, I resigned. The main reason I resigned was because I put up postings about Dr. Umar Johnson and the school, the one during, fantastic work. Of course, he got the first bid.
Yes.
And they were taken down. The sister took it down.
Okay.
So I told her, I said, well, look, Umar signed the paper petition and allowed us to put his picture up there to encourage other people to sign it. So for that reason, I told her, I said, I cannot be administrator on that page. If you can't have him, you certainly can't have me on there.
Okay. Thank you for those bold, courageous stands, sister. All right? Let me get some of these calls.
But at this point, I'm still doing the Answers in Justice, and I'm looking at what is happening with the Arab community in Mexico. I really feel strongly that they are the root there in this setup of having Malcolm Shabazz, the grandson of Malcolm X, killed.
Okay. Thank you for your call. Always keeping us updated. All right. Thank you, my sister. Always now. All right.
All right. Give me a call if you want to go to, the event. Let me know.
Okay, I will do. Give thanks now.
Okay.
Always
give thanks.
On the move. Peace. And with that, take more of your calls. 410-761-1592. But again, for those of you that came on out this past Thursday to see Hidden Colors, if you want to check in, if you want to talk about this past election, or Mr. Bobo's robo-election that took place this past Tuesday. And if you one of them ones I was talking about, some of them Boule members, some of the newest recruits, the Nick Mosby's, I don't know, maybe they bring a Hassan in. I don't know if you can go from hard knocks life to go becoming a Boule, man. They don't do it. I know they get these millennium mulattoes, but I don't think it works that way, man. You know what I mean? I know Donnie went to Morehouse, but I don't think it works that way. You know what I mean? We got to check with Jamal Bryant, see what you got to do, man. But these hoes ain't loyal, as they say. They selling their soul, and now they selling yours. But again, it's the diminution of black power is what we're looking at in the city right now. Let me come back to the line, 410-761-1592. Afternoon caller, you on the State of the City.
Good afternoon, Brother Muhammad.
How you doing, my brother? Thoughts, comments?
The machines that they still use here in the state of Maryland are made by a company, Diebold.
Diebold? Yeah, we call it Diebold, the death of democracy.
That's right, Diebold, that's right.
Can't get a receipt.
You
know
can
what I mean?
only die.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Okay, now, we know that, or at least if you look it up, that those who were blowing the whistle on this company, such as Michael Cannell, who was the Bush's IT specialist.
Is that the one that died in the accident? Died in a plane accident?
His private plane crash. He crashed on the way to Ohio. He had been warning that Karl Rove, he was told by a confidant that Karl Rove was going to put a hit out on him for whistleblowing about being able to hack into voting machines.
That's right. Yes, sir.
And shortly thereafter, he did die in a plane crash. And not only him, from 2003 to 2008, 6 other IT specialists of the voting machines. Two of them being African American. One of them invented a voting machine that would produce a receipt.
That's right.
They too were killed.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what I don't understand is, and this position is not favored by many, but I voted since I've been able to vote, and I voted for Obama this first term.
Yeah.
But after opening my eyes and doing some research and seeing things, how can you give any credence to thinking that your vote is credible?
That's right. Yes, sir.
How can you go into these booths and touch these touch screens?
That's right.
Made by Diebold?
Come on now.
And think that your vote really counts when it could be hacked into. There's a YouTube video. Anybody can go up and check it out. Done. It was a hearing by Congress that they had this gentleman by the name of Clinton Curtis. He was also a computer programmer.
Right.
Who down in Florida. He worked for NASA. He worked for the Federal Department of Transportation, and he testified to the fact that it's easy to hack into these Diebold machines.
Yeah. Well, you had a guy right here. Right.
He was paid by a Congressman, Tom Finney, down in Florida, to come up with a protocol of a prototype of a software that could hack into these machines and change the vote.
Yes, sir.
He testified to that fact. Anybody can go on YouTube and check it out.
All right. Let me take some more of these calls, brother. Appreciate you checking in.
I don't give any credence to these machines. We can't play their game. Do you think they're going to put a game out there that is going to be against them?
Absolutely not, brother.
Peace, brother.
All right, peace. So clearly, Dr. Richard Rockefeller, the son or the grandson of David Rockefeller of the Bilderbergers. He's not the only one that dropped out the sky on it was Friday the 13th, 2 weeks ago. But I have to come back and talk about the agency he set up called Doctors Without Borders, and how Doctors Without Borders are now being used over in West Africa. They're talking about this outbreak or breakout of the Ebola virus. So they can't get you one way in terms of depopulation. They'll come another way. So keep your eyes open as this story has been breaking in the so-called mainstream media or socially engineered and being pushed about the Ebola virus in West Africa. And strangely enough, it's Liberia, it's Guinea, it's Sierra Leone, all those countries that didn't even get invited to that big meeting with France to talk about Boko Haram and the missing girls, which they still won't tell you about no missing girls. But it was about phony as Coney, and as phony as Save Darfur, if you haven't been able to look thus far and see through them games, man. But let me come back to the lines, 410. I know I'm messing some of you up. It can't be, Brother Muhammad, the first lady was holding a sign, bring back our girls. You had Alicia Rudd missing in D.C., and you ain't never hear the first lady open her mouth up about that little 8-year-old black girl missing in D.C. If you're going to talk about human trafficking, as we speak, the federal government talking about hundreds of thousands of Mexican and brown children that they're bringing across the border. Because they soon going to bring the UN troops in down on that border. Then them UN troops going to soon be coming into every major city in America under the auspices of protecting those children. Then they coming after your guns and everything else. So you better wake up, smell the coffee, and see the games that's being played on you right now regarding them bringing in, not the families, but bringing in the children. Human trafficking. And as we speak, that trial going on in Brussels. Let me give you that article. You can read it yourself from beforeitsnews.com. Royals and Vaticans and global leaders entertained by killing kidnapped children. Talking about the Ninth Circle satanic child ritual. The trial going on in Brussels. Your president was just in Brussels. The Queen is being tried in absentia. Your dope Pope man is being tried in absentia. The Bishop of Canterbury of Canada being tried in absentia at the ICLCJ court in Brussels. Now, you can read it or not read it, but all of that's going to eventually come to the surface. Your mainstream media dare not touch it. Your Catholic media, Catholic Review, Associated Catholic Charities, Associated Jewish Charity, Black Charities dare not touch it. Regarding their crimes against children, 50,000 children. They uncovering graves in Ireland, uncovering graves in Spain at many of these Jesuit-run schools. And what is Baltimore but a Jesuit town? What is Maryland but a Jesuit state? That's why they don't want me talking about these kind of topic matters. They don't want you to look at that and see why your black men are in positions of power and don't have no power, can't execute power. Because they've been tripped off, tipped off, dipped off, and some of them have been raped. But you don't want to have that conversation with me. They grown men, they look grown on the outside, but they ain't grown on the inside because there's a hole in their soul. Men and the women in this city. So I got to bring Patricia Jessamy on, Dr. Patricia Newton, rather. Patricia Jessamy will run from me. She ain't coming on here. She ain't coming on here, and I say that out of love. I got to bring Dr. Newton on to talk about the kind of activities went on them plantations. The raping of the men, the sodomizing of the men and the women and the boys. And that mindset has been passed on through the red nuclei, through that mirror neuron into the minds of the people today. That's why you need strong black radio, strong black media. That's why you need a Hidden Colors 1, Hidden Colors 2, Hidden Colors 3 in order to heal the wounds of our people in this country. Once we can heal ourselves, then we can heal others. Because don't think if they did it to the black ones, they didn't do it to the brown ones and the red ones and the yellow ones. And you know the white ones. You know the white ones. Let me come back to the lines, 410-761-1592. Pardon me. Nah, I ain't even gonna say pardon. You need that kind of radio. You don't need that old soft talk radio where somebody won't come on and talk about what's going on in another state. Talk about a bunch of foolishness. Keeping up with the Kardashians. Keeping up with Chris Brown. When they've been turned out themselves. Let me come back to the line. You need that kind of radio. If you ain't got no radio talking like this, turn that damn radio off. You ain't got no radio talk show host talking like this, man. Turn them off. Because they ain't talking about nothing. Let me come back to the lines. Pardon me. Good afternoon, caller. You on State of the City.
Well, that's quite all right, my brother.
Yes,
quite
sir.
all right. And you need to send your donations to Mr. Muhammad.
Donations. I got enough of them sending donations.
That's right.
Donations.
Donations to
Well,
Dan
please
Muhammad.
continue, brother.
He's doing a great job, and y'all know he's doing a great job telling you the truth, keeping your head above water with the truth.
Yes, sir.
But, brother, let me talk to you also about this election. You know, Darren, the state's attorney race, until you unfolded this morning, I know this afternoon, I knew it was something up.
Yeah.
Bernstein, you remember 4 years ago, how many debates did they have to get me out? 4 or 5 debates.
That's right.
Did they have one this time?
I think the last one was the day before the election on, was a Sunday morning. On Sunday morning on Channel 11. That wasn't a debate. It was just a forum.
That's right, brother.
Right.
Now, you know something is up.
Yes, sir. Absolutely,
Come on, man.
brother.
Bernstein didn't even act like this time he was interested in winning nor losing.
Just make it look good, brother.
That's right. Make it look good.
all the charade and the masquerade. Somebody got to be willing to pull off the mask, brother.
That's right, brother.
Yes, sir.
Come on, man. We are all not fools.
And you saw behind the scene Kurt Smoke, Larry Gibson. Man, where's Quite and Fume been? Quite easy, you don't fool me. You understand? where they been? So let you see, right? Bunch of has-beens, a bunch of wannabes. Then they get them young wannabes like McCarthy and Hassan and the rest of them, and then they put them on radio. So I've seen them downtown at them hotels with Quasi and Fume, Mike Miller and others. That's why they can't really deal with Brother Muhammad, because they know that I know who they get their info and their instructions and their orders from. Yes, sir.
Another thing, too, brother. If I was Mr. Brown, I would be nervous in my boots. Did you see on the victory stage the other night, brother, the question was who was there and who wasn't up there?
Right. Yes, sir. Right.
Okay?
I didn't see it, but as I said before.
Yeah, I didn't see O'Malley. I didn't see some of those rich business folks up there on that stage with him. What I saw was a bunch of us up there.
Yes, sir. Right.
And you know white folks, man, this one of the racist states in America.
Yes, sir. Well, O'Malley has been taking him around. That's why I say he like Buster Brown that lived in the shoe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He been taking him around Maryland. I'm going to say alleged, but he's been taking him around Maryland, took him to Virginia. I understand he took him to Governor Warner. Now, last I checked, Warner is a Republican. Is that right?
Absolutely.
So it lets you see O'Malley is the best dressed Republican in the state of Maryland, brother. He took him to Virginia. He took him to D.C. and helped him raise all this money. So that, of course, that means that O'Malley is selling his soul. He's selling out the soul of Maryland and probably selling out the souls of the shoes that's on Anthony Brown's feet so that he can ascend or at least move to that next level. So he need Kurt Smoke. Now, I'm trying to say it later. This is why Kurt Smoke got that position. He needs Larry Gibson and them to say to the rest of the country, he got to sell it, that he's a progressive Democrat, not a recessive Democrat, brother.
And all he's been doing is raising our taxes. And bro, let me tell you this, Darren.
They kissed that ring.
There's nothing wrong with raising taxes.
Right.
If the taxes is going to improve the conditions of your citizens of your state.
Right.
If your taxes is going to go to building stadiums and monuments and
Right.
gambling casinos.
Right. Come on, brother.
man.
Who needs casinos when you got Martin O'Malley administration? Roll
Thank
the
you,
dice,
brother.
baby. Roll the dice. You know what I mean?
Thank you,
huh?
brother.
Who need? And then going to pretend like he care about the workers at Hopkins when he worked to get rid of all them damn people in East Baltimore with that $1.8 billion public work project, the biotech, which was a bio-wreck that never got built, and nobody ever went to jail. No federal investigation by Congressman Elijah Cummings with federal money. You understand, brother?
What he needed to say to those people at Hopkins, you're the richest hospital in this world.
That's
Give
right.
them people what they need and what they want.
And he ain't open his damn mouth about what's going on with the longshoremen on the waterfront, right?
Not at all.
When you know the history of the Kern family and how the Kern family ran that waterfront for years, man, because it's so steeped and deep and entrenched in corruption down there.
Absolutely, brother.
Yes, sir.
No, brother, you unfolded a lot this afternoon in 45 to an hour. You've been out here. You unfolded a lot, brother.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you
right,
for
man.
checking in now. We'll take more of your calls if you want to get in where you fit in. It's that hot radio. Some of y'all, man, I tell you, take your medication before I even do my dedication. Because something may pop, something may drop, or something may stop, man. But I'm going to continue to go on with this info, with that. In the meantime, in between time, let me come back to the lines. Good afternoon, caller. You on the State of the City.
Brother Muhammad, how are you?
I'm good, brother. How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you at Hidden Colors 3.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yes, sir. Thoughts and comments on that before we get into the conversation.
I want to ask the listeners that when and if we can bring the great Tariq Nasheed to Baltimore, that we call this station in record numbers and appeal to him that we included in Hidden Colors 4 a man that is proven to be worth his salt, a man that has proven his love, dedication, and loyalty to our people, one of the greatest thinkers on his feet, and one of the greatest thinkers on his seat, and one of the great minds anywhere. I speak none other than Brother Dar Muhammad.
Well,
Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, brother. I'm humbled and just respect that request. With that, let me come back to the lines, 410-761-1592. Good afternoon, caller. You on the State of the City.
Hello?
How you doing, my elder? Thoughts and comments. You heard me talking about the Karens, right?
Yeah.
You know about them corrupt Karens, right?
I heard about it from you.
You know about the corrupt Schaefer, right?
I know, because
Yes,
he's the one I went down to kill.
Uh-oh. Yes, sir. You went down there to put a couple of hot ones in them, huh?
That's right.
Yes, sir. That's another show for another day, man. You went down there, of course. You the infamous Charles Hopkins that went down there to meet them because of the syndicates and what they was doing with their shakedown when they've been shaking down black business owners for years in the city of Baltimore and still continue to do it, man, on every major board or permit that they sit over top of to shake you down, break you down, and take you down if they have to do, if you don't give some money to them Democratic mob bosses in the city. Of course, the book that the white guy wrote, right? The title, he said this was a white man's town. So I'm just quoting what the book said. But please continue, my elder.
So I tell you, I pray to my black God, they kill all white people and their babies and all. Simply because if we don't do it, my black God is not a local God. He's a God around the universe.
Yes, sir.
Therefore, in this country and around the nations, I believe that my black God is going to restore these animals because they need to be restored. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you checking in. That's the elder, Charles Hopkins. You heard it from him. So, again, I want him to destroy that mindset, as I said before. I want him to destroy that mind and some behinds around here. And I'm talking about some black ones, brown ones, red, yellow, and white ones. But God ain't no pit bull. He damn sure ain't no Sharpay, because if he was, Baltimore City police couldn't wait to slit his throat if he was, man. Have you heard the mayor open her mouth out about that? Have you heard the police commissioner say a word about that?
They got their order.
And if they do that to a dog, know what I mean, dog? Ain't no telling what they'll do to a black man or a black baby, black boy in the city of Baltimore. With that, let me come back to the line, 410-761-1592. Good afternoon, caller. You on the State of the City. Caller going once. Caller going twice.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Come on, brother.
Don Muhammad.
Speaking.
How in the world can the citizens get rid of that permit scheme that's going on between the city and the state?
How can you get rid of them?
Yeah.
Got to have a mass movement, man. Go ahead to shut some people down, brother. You got to shut some people down. And that's what's going to have to happen. People going to have to sacrifice because otherwise, at the end of the day, your conditions only going to get worse. Your standard of living won't be a standard anymore. It'll be substandard. that's what's going to happen with Martin O'Malley from state workers' pension, city workers' pension. Firefighters and police already know. That's why they got separate pensions from everybody else, man. And of course, as I said, ultimately with what's happening on the border, it's coming to a city near you in terms of, again, these UN. They got all over the internet, they showing these UN convoys moving in every major city because they're going to put them down on the border, but they're going to use them to give them some orders as they will be occupying, of course, cities and states soon and very soon. And this ain't long, so just keep your eyes open, brother. But you got to listen to this kind of show and flow. And then we got to come together, as Brother KWAME TOURE Stokely Carmichael always said, a disorganized truth can never defeat a well-organized lie. So we got to organize, brother. All right?
That's right.
Okay, appreciate you checking in.
Yes,
with that, we'll take more calls. Out of love, though, you can't become what they are. Let me make that clear. You cannot become what they are. You have to rise above that, as Dr. King said, to the majestic heights. So, again, if you want to get in on the conversation, and that's with love, 410-761-1592. You can get in where you fit in where you get in on the conversation. If not, we're going to get into this Iraq story, which I've been holding. This is an interview with Webster Tarpley talking about just that regarding crisis, not ISIS, but crisis, how all of this is the neocon. They getting ready to back Obama up in the corner to say, you're going to do what we want you to do, boy. You remember the Jewish Times a few years ago? They gave him a list of 13 things he was supposed to do. And they said if he didn't, point number 3 was to assassinate President Obama. Now, I know some of you sisters, you brothers that got a candy crush on Obama. Some of you sisters, you will fight harder when somebody say something about Obama than you do for your mama, who has lost her home and lost her job as a teacher because they bringing in the white puppies and yuppies and guppies and moving black teachers out of the public school system. You fight harder for Obama when somebody say something about Obama than you do for your mom and your father right now. Tell me I'm lying. And if you fight as hard for your men as you do for Obama, wouldn't be a brother in jail. You move heaven and hell. You move heaven and hell to get them brothers out of jail. But let me go to this clip interview with Webster Tarpley talking about to kind of make it a little plain for some of you. Then if time permit, we'll come back in, open up the lines, take more of your calls at 410-761-1592. But this was an interview from Press TV talking about, again, the neocons, because this is a continuation of the neocons' plan for Iraq, for Iran, and World War IV, World War III is inside your door right now. And your standard of living, as I said, is going to go down. It's not going to go up. Oil prices, gas prices, I know you see it. Food prices, everything's going up. Everything is going up. But again, as long as you can, keep your eye on the draft, keep your eye on the World Cup, you don't even see the world war that's about to go down. But let me go to this, and we'll be back with more of this state of this city.
Not fighters or Sunni rebels or revolutionaries, as some media outlets have called them, led by the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, or the ISIL, has sparked international alarm. So much so that Baghdad has formally requested U.S.'s help. But is U.S. military engagement the right move? In this edition of the debate, we'll ask the real motives of the U.S. in Iraq, in which the U.S. President Barack Obama has said, in addition to this 275 military officers that it will send to protect the Green Zone, that it's going to send up to 300 military advisors. Isn't that the same as boots on the ground? Well, we're also going to ask Saudi Arabia's role in this matter, whether the U.S. is cooperating with them, and also discuss what Syria's UN representative has said, that this is a scheme by the West to safeguard Israel's interests through creating havoc in the Middle East, pitting Muslims against Muslims with the Western stated goal of regime change in Iran.
It seems the United States is preparing the ground to once again intervene militarily in Iraq, as the Arab country's armed forces are engaged in fierce fighting against Takfiri militants from the so-called Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, or the ISIL. This, as the Iraqi foreign minister has called on Washington to help Baghdad over the crisis. Iraq has officially asked for...
Welcome back. Let me move us along into the actual interview that I want to get into. So I ask you to listen with an open ear, open heart, open mind. I believe this is right where we want to get it with Webster Tarpley talking about, again, what it is taking place. So listen to this, and then we'll be back with more of the State of Today.
About to sweep down on Baghdad. Well, in that case, Assad is certainly a lesser evil. The other question, though, the U.S. politics on this, the other coup, in addition to the anti-Maliki coup that is the goal of this operation, is a cold coup around Obama. And McCain came out and said it last week. he demanded that Obama fire all of his own loyalists, and of course, these are, in my view, bad people, but still, those are Obama's people, and bring in General Petraeus, General David Petraeus of the Pentagon and the CIA and Wall Street. He now works for Kohlberg Kravis Roberts. He's got a financial angel with multi-billion-dollar deep pockets. And of course, Petraeus personifies the danger of Bonapartism here in the United States, of a kind of a dictatorial seizure of power. And we know that this clique is now super active. The neocons are mobilized as never before. And I'm talking about Kimberly Kagan at the Institute for the Study of War, Frederick Kagan at the American Enterprise Institute, Donald Kagan at the Brookings Institution, and his charming wife, Victoria Nuland, who has disgusted the world with her vulgarity. The goal of this is coming on the heels of Benghazi, which was an anti-Obama October surprise designed to bring in Romney and the neocons, but it failed. After this Bo Bergdahl hysteria, which we've had, this is now the third wave of a neocon counteroffensive designed to push out whoever Obama has that doesn't want to go along with it and put in neocons. And I would also add, Kerry of Skull and Bones, the Secretary of State, and Samantha Power, the humanitarian bomber who represents the U.S. at the United Nations. These are people who have been scheming to get away to bomb Syria now for months, and it's been on the front page of the Washington Post, and they have actually brought in Petraeus and this General Keane, who is a friend of this entire group, to try to find ways to push Obama towards war with Syria.
Okay. Welcome back. Well, you heard that from Webster Tarpley, author of the book, The Unauthorized Biography of George Herbert Walker Bush, Skull and Bones member, as you heard him mention John Kerry. And, of course, he wrote an unauthorized biography of Barack Obama, which, Brother Muhammad, when I was debating Malik Zulu Shabazz, when he was the head of the new Black Panther Party, we talked about Barack Obama. And, of course, many didn't want to have this conversation. Even some of my Coakleyite brothers didn't want to have the conversation. But since the death of Steve Coakley, many of them here locally, I ain't talking about brothers that I've met around the country, have not been able to give a thorough analysis of any of the newer members of the Boule and give a thorough analysis of what is taking place right now locally, nationally, and internationally. But, again, we're going to continue to give you that truth with the proof up in the booth. So in the meantime and in between time, if you want to get in on the conversation, lines are open, 410-761-1592. Didn't get an opportunity to get back into the Michael Jackson case as we talked about on Thursday, but I promise you that I will get back into that. Look at, of course, the Lloyds of London. Look at Key Bono, who benefits from the death of Michael Jackson. Look at Wall Street and the hedge fund companies, as we will name the names like no one else will do, regarding, again, the death of the quintessential transcontinental mega universal superstar, Michael Jackson, and his charity to Africa, his charity and his humanity, more than any of these other white entertainers and others that they run around and want you to, keep your eyes on and be following. But he wasn't just a businessman. He was a businessman with a business plan. And we'll have to come back and go deep into that, slow walk it as I've done before. And as I said before, share with you in terms of Michael Jackson and his legacy and his estate, that land that his home sat on, and, of course, connecting the dots and revealing the plots to murder Michael Jackson and then to try to murder his mother, Katherine Jackson, if they can do it. So she is the sole heir in terms of the adult to the will of Michael Jackson. How you had the likes of Al Sharpton and others that were complicit. We'll say alleged, just as blacks was complicit in the death of Dr. King, that was around Dr. King, that had weapons so that if the gunman and the sniper missed Dr. King, their job was to take Dr. King out. But I know some of you too lazy to go online to the King Center and even read the transcripts. But just as they were planning to kill Dr. King, they were planning to kill Michael Jackson because of what he said was going to take place, working with Jane Burgermeister, who was blowing the whistle on who? Blowing the whistle on Doctors Without Borders and their plan to release this virus. At that time, it was the avian flu. It was the H1N1 that depopulated humanity. Now they've unleashed the Ebola virus, apparently, on the west coast of Africa. So keep your eyes open, because don't think that plan with the death of Michael Jackson was nullified or neutralized or hasn't gone from a plan A to a plan B. With that, let me come back to the lines, and we'll take a few more calls if you want to get in on the conversation. You ain't never heard nobody talk like this anyway about Michael Jackson and the death of Michael Jackson. Some of you just thought he used some drugs, but you couldn't see him dancing and performing the way he was performing if he was on drugs. But you think the worst of him as opposed to the best of him, because some of you been made to think the worst of yourself and your own kind. But there are people around the world that know what happened and not afraid to tell what happened. And you got a few, like myself and Dick Gregory and others, that aren't afraid to tell. Some of them got a certain point they're going to go, and that's it. Even the entertainers. They got a certain point they're going to go, and that's it. Black radio just going to play you some Michael Jackson songs all day long. Let you get high off the music, and that's all right. But the best way you can get high is by telling the truth. Let me come back to the lines before we begin to wrap up. Good afternoon, caller. You on the State of the City. Lost that call. If you want to get in on the conversation, 410-761-1592. And I promise you, as we are closing out Black Music Month, I'll come back and get into that regarding Michael Jackson, because it needs to be explained. Need to know that court case took place and all of the files, the fake will, and all of the people that they killed following the time when they killed Michael Jackson, like when they killed King, like when they killed Malcolm, like when they killed Kennedy, like when they killed John Lennon. And we'll talk about the music industry. The satanic forces in the music. They're the same ones running them child pedophile rings for the most part. They're the ones that's the same ones up top. But I know you don't want to believe that. So somebody got to slow it down and show it to you so that you really open your eyes and see what's going on and has been going on around you. With that, let me come back to the lines. Good afternoon, caller. You on the State of the City.
Hey, Brother Muhammad.
How are you, brother?
All right, this is Blackwater Bill.
All right, come on, Blackwater Bill. All right, we got bills to pay now with the radio, so come on, my brother. Good to see you. Good to hear your voice. Come on.
I'd like to thank you about making their politics plain, man.
Yes, sir.
So thanks for making the politics plain. But one thing you was right about.
Yes.
I'm scared to go vote because of I was one of those ones that was locked up illegal.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I know.
100,000.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I know. You one of them 100,000 brothers that got locked up, man, illegally and unconstitutionally.
Yeah, so I'm
come on, brother.
I'm wondering how, if I can get into the political game again. I think that's a problem, like you said, in the black community.
It is, brother.
A lot of us been locked up, so.
Yes, sir.
So
all right.
Thanks again.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it now. With that, we'll take more of your calls, 410-761-1592. Make sure you got them ratchety radios turned down when you call in, man. But with that, let me come back to the line. Say that out of love. 410-761-1592. Good afternoon, caller. You on the State of the City.
Hey, good afternoon, Brother Muhammad.
Good afternoon, brother.
Look here, bro. Michael Jackson. Now, there was a fellow that was associated with Michael Jackson a few years before his death.
Yes.
I don't know if you're familiar with him, not by the name of Rabbi Shmuley.
Rabbi Shmuley, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You ever heard of him?
I've heard of him.
Yes, sir. Well, he got a book with Michael Jackson. He did a book with Michael, and them on it, and they're embracing each other. Yes. And Michael tells him a whole lot of story about his history as growing up as a child.
Yes, sir.
And one particular chapter in that book, Michael be telling about how his Jewish lawyers, at the time when he was a little boy, would go and sleep in the bed with him.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
sir. Call up in the bed with Michael. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's in the book with him and Rabbi Shmuley.
Right. Okay.
Yes, sir. And I think that would make me at the time, them Joe lawyers were saying it's all right. I ain't saying Michael did that or not.
No.
We're saying it's all right to have children laying beside you in the bed.
Well, no,
Michael did.
Yeah.
Well,
I know
what I'm saying, brother?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but of course I'll come back slow
check
up.
Check that book out with Rabbi Shmuley he got.
All right.
And this book, okay.
Okay. Now, did you and when you get a chance, don't forget to check out the book by Geraldine Hughes entitled "The Redemption of Michael Jackson," in which she talked about all of that supposedly about Michael Jackson and children was all a fallacy, all made up, so they could cut off Michael Jackson profits and his projects. And of course, one of the boys, Jordan Chandler's father, Evan Chandler, died right after they killed Michael Jackson. And of course, they killed another one named Ayers, and they killed Michael Jackson's lawyer, Robert Lopez. So check the book out, Geraldine Hughes. They even got a fan club. In fact, she got a movie coming out entitled "The Redemption of Michael Jackson," in which she talks about all of that. these so-called controversies they would bring out right before Michael Jackson would relaunch another album, or if he was going on a tour, they would bring out the scandal, because what they wanted to do was to kill his album and to kill his songs, kill his music, kill his projects, and ultimately to kill him. So, again, I invite all of that because we need to have that kind of conversation and dialogue with truth. So if you want to get in on the conversation before we wrap up, 410-761-1592. You can get in where you fit in and fit in where you get in on the conversation. And we'll talk about the purchasing of the ATV catalog by Michael Jackson, which included over 100,000 songs, 600,000 songs, I believe. And, of course, one of the known artists was the Beatles, which dealt in occult symbolism, signs, and coming out of London, England, Tavistock Institute. And then they use rock and roll. Today they use rap, hip-hop, and all that other crap. Why you think your little black girls listen to Iggy? What the hell is a Iggy? You know what I mean? What is a Iggy? Around here perpetrating, imitating salt and pepper. What is a Iggy? But that's what they got our children listening to today, man. So again, we'll talk more about that, I promise you, over this week coming up. So we're going to begin to wrap up the show and the flow today. Anything I said today is not personal, but it's principle. Had many other stories that I wanted to get into, but I didn't get a chance to get into. But I promise you over the next couple of days, we'll come back, get into that, and much more. We'll be back here on Monday. And with that, let me begin to thank my sponsors as we're wrapping up. Again, don't forget, Hidden Colors 3 will be out this week. We may have a Hidden Colors release party. We'll let you know. We're going to party with a purpose, though. Ain't going to be no Ciroc. Ain't going to be no Hennessy. Ain't going to be no pig's feet. I promise you that already now. Ain't going to be nothing on the grill on the 4th. You ain't going to be drinking a 5th on the 4th either. Already putting that out there, letting you know. But we're going to have a good time, of course, in peace and harmony and love with our people and one another. So let me quickly thank my sponsors as we're wrapping up. Got to thank Terra Cafe right there, 25th and St. Paul. Stop in, get you some lunch and get you some brunch. Got to thank Charm City Chicken and Waffle Restaurant, 807 Washington Boulevard. Due to open a new location right across from the courthouse, but they trying to get justice from the fire marshal to open the doors right there across from the courthouse. So we thank Charm City Chicken and Waffle Restaurant. Got to thank PM Diversified Tax Services. Give them a call for your tax services, 410-367-5615. And no show is complete without thanking the Black Man and Woman's Country Club. You know them as the barbershops and the salons. Let me thank Park Heights Barbershop, the brothers across from the mall, Flair Hair, and Brother Johnny at Johnny's G-Styles Barbershop, G-Styles Boutique. We'll podcast the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Spreaker. We do need your support to continue the show, family. So we starting off June the 1st this week coming up, but please make your checks, money orders, drop them off as we speak. Terra Cafe. If it's a check, make it the WFBR. Put it in an envelope. Leave it to yours truly, Darren Muhammad. We'll podcast the show Spreaker, Facebook, and Twitter. So stay tuned for more great radio here on Soul Classics 1590 WFBR. Until Monday at 12 noon, God bless. Let's continue to clean up all this mess. Peace. Stay out of them malls. Stay out of them stadiums. Stay watchful. Stay vigilant. And until Monday at 12 noon, peace.